cool with me.
Okay, hello Free Footy friends, family. Welcome to another 4 p.m. session. Today we are doing basketball. Unfortunately, we had a bit of technical issues, so Brody and I are doing this session offline, and then we're going to be posting it later, or right now that you're watching. But I'd like you guys all to meet Brody Clarke from Edmonton Stingers.
Hey guys.
How are you doing through all of this? How's everything?
You know what, it's tough, but I'm trying to take the positives from the situation. Obviously, a lot of people are having a much more difficult time than I am with it. I'm thankful to be healthy and safe. I'm around my family, and I have the ability to stay active and stay healthy, so can't really complain. It is tough not being able to see friends and, you know, go out and do a lot of stuff, but there are ways to stay busy, so it is what it is.
That's awesome. So you just joined officially Edmonton Stingers this year, but can you tell us a little bit about your basketball journey?
Yeah, so I grew up playing basketball in Toronto, Ontario. Actually, I played most of my basketball growing up for a club team in Toronto that was run by my dad. So he was my coach for the large part of my life. And then I went to high school at Oakwood Collegiate in Toronto and won a provincial championship there before committing to the University of Alberta, which is a very long way from Toronto. But I decided that I needed a little bit of a change of scenery. It was going to be, you know, important for me to get away from home to grow up a little bit and see new parts of the world and new parts of the country. So I came to U of A in 2014-15. I actually sat out my first year because of a knee injury.
Okay.
But I then played 5 years with the Golden Bears from the 2015-16 season until this past season. I was named a first-team All-Canadian twice. I was named a first-team Canada West All-Star 3 times. I represented Canada in 2015 with the under-19 national team at the World Championship, as well as in 2019, 2019 this past summer at the FISU Games with the university team. And
that's
yeah,
cool, 'cause that was in Italy, right? You got to go to Italy for that one, which I think is
really cool. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Yeah. We actually just had a McEwen player. Her name is Jamie, who went to the same games, but she was doing soccer, because I think it's multiple sports, right? It's almost like
it's kind of like a university Olympics in a way. So yeah. I have no idea how she played soccer in that heat. I think we were there during the middle of like that heat wave that was going through Southern, from like 35 to 40 degrees without humidity every day. But I commend her for that.
That's awesome. That's such a huge accomplishment. That is awesome, Brody. Super awesome to hear. And then, so you just finished up your last season, but last year you played with the Stingers and last summer?
Correct. So the Stingers play in the Canadian Elite Basketball League, and the way that league works is that each team, every game is allowed to play one U Sports developmental player, so a university player who is not yet a pro, but obviously has professional aspirations. And so each team is allowed to dress one of those players each game for developmental purposes. And I got lucky enough to be that player on the Edmonton team last summer for 6 games. I was with them for majority of the summer training, except for the stint that I disappeared for FISU Games. And then this past year, after finishing up my season with the Golden Bears, I signed on to be a full-on professional player with them for the coming season, assuming it all happens. So fingers crossed.
Of course. But that's a big win. That's awesome. Honestly, congratulations for all of this achievements, for working hard, for dealing with Coach Dad. He must be so proud. He must be so happy that where you're at now, which is super cool. So what are we going to be working with you today, Brody?
I was thinking that today we would talk a little bit about, you know, what a shooting pocket is and how to get the ball into your shooting pocket off of the bounce. Okay. And then once we talk about that for a little bit, we can go over what I like to call a jab series. So just a little bit of footwork, very basic stuff that you can use at any level. It's pretty much the staple of my game personally is the jab step. So it's something that is, again, applicable at all levels, all ages, and is a very important fundamental of basketball, in my opinion.
Okay, awesome. Then let's get into it.
All right. I'm going to try to make a little bit more space here. So the first thing that I said we're going to talk about, the shooting pocket. So obviously, kids have a little bit of a more difficult time shooting the ball from above their head when they're smaller. But as you get older, you find that you're going to be usually releasing the ball from up here. But the key is where you load the ball from at the start. So typically when you catch the ball, you want to get into what's called a triple threat position. So you're in a nice athletic stance. You're bent at all three places in your ankle, your knee, and your hip. And your strong hand is on the ball, typically with the seams perpendicular to your fingers. So your guide hand can pretty much find its home anywhere else on the ball. Now you're in this athletic stance, and you want to make sure you have about a 90-degree angle in your wrist, a nice flexed wrist, and a nice flexed arm. And this is pretty much where you want to be loading to shoot the ball from. So anytime I shoot the ball, whether I'm shooting it off the bounce, off a catch, whatever it might be, I'm always loaded here first, locked and ready to go. Cool. So we want to get into that shooting pocket every single time. And there's a number of ways to do that. But first and foremost, this is called triple threat position because there's three things that you can get out of triple threat position. You can shoot, you can drive, and you can pass. So we're going to talk about different ways to get into that off of the dribble today, and hopefully, some of the kids can incorporate that into their everyday routines.
Yeah, because it's exactly what you were saying before about the load. It's you're loading up in that place where a lot of kids want to start here, right? Mm-hmm. This from here to here is so crucial because it adds just a little bit more power to it, or I don't even know, just the move.
Well, it's a good way to get your balance. I think first and foremost, most of the power in your shot, you have to understand, comes from your legs. You don't want to be heaving the ball with your arm because you have way less control, and overall you're not going to get the same amount of power. Mm-hmm. But generally speaking, if you are in a loaded position with your wrist cocked and your elbow at a 90-degree angle approximately, knees bent and everything ready to go, this is a very athletic position, whether you're planning to shoot the ball or do something else.
Gotcha.
So the general kind of baseline point to start off.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay, cool. Awesome. So we were gonna try to get set for after a bounce.
Right. So first we'll talk about just off a pass. So the easiest way to sort of practice it is to just toss the ball to yourself with a little bit of backspin and catch it in that nice locked and loaded stance. I can't tell you how many times I just did this with my dad as a kid, having him just pass me the ball. This one doesn't have good air, but having him just pass me the ball and catch it and be ready to shoot and give it back to him. So a number of times you can do that. You want to make sure that you're balanced. What's really important is, I'm going to try and switch this camera view a little bit. You want your balance here. You don't want to be back on your heels, and you don't want to be leaning forward, getting your head over your toes. You want to be nice and balanced on the balls of your feet. Feet about shoulder width apart in a pretty, strong stance would be the way I'd put it.
Yeah. It gets to the point where you almost have to get someone to come and push you a little bit just so they can test your balance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could definitely tell you I've done drills like that. So there's a lot to it, but making sure that, off of a catch, someone passes you the ball from any direction, you can catch it, get into that nice locked and loaded position and work on it. You can toss your ball. I have a pretty low ceiling here, so I'm not going to. You can have the ball coming from high, you can pick it up off the ground, but we want to find ways to get the ball from anywhere into our shooting pocket so that we can get up into our shot or we can drive from there.
Yeah, that's good. I'm trying to find almost my center of gravity.
Yeah.
I feel like I stand too high when I'm playing ball. So I'm not as balanced, or I'm not as quick. You know what I mean? So I'm like trying to find that, like, and then sometimes I sit too low and then I get tired because I'm so low, you know what I mean? But
I think that the biggest part of it is making sure that you're kind of flexed at all 3 points within your lower body. So your hips, you don't want to be leaning over, but you don't want to be fully straight. You got to have a little bit of a flexion there. As a result, you're going to end up with a little bit of a flexion in your knee and in your ankle. And that way you have like a lower center of gravity. It's kind of still center, right kind of below your chest. But you're generally more balanced and you got more strength.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I like that one. Shooting pocket.
Great. So what's really important about the shooting pocket now, so we've talked about getting into it off of just a catch. So that's, you're basically simulating getting the ball passed to you from a teammate. But a lot of times you want to shoot the ball off the dribble. And so this is one that I actually got from George Hoyt, coach of the Ainley high school basketball team. Work with him in the summer times, and he's big into getting the ball from wherever you're dribbling it back into that pocket. So we do a lot where we're catching it and we're just making one strong pound into the shooting pocket. So one hard dribble shooting pocket, or maybe you're dribbling with your offhand shooting pocket, offhand shooting pocket. Every time that you're getting into it, you want to be sort of in the air to catch the ball. You don't want to be just standing still and then locking. You want to make sure that your body is moving, that your feet are not staying totally still on the ground, and you're getting nice and locked and loaded.
Okay. Awesome. Yes. Yeah. I wish I had a hoop inside. No?
I would put a lot of holes in this ceiling, so.
That's awesome. Okay. Awesome. I like that. That was good. What are we doing feet work now, or are we moving on to it?
Yeah, so that is a nice way to get used to getting the ball into the shooting pocket. The footwork, I have no idea how I want to do this with the camera, so bear with me here. But like I was saying, the jab step is one of the most important pieces of footwork that you can incorporate into your game. There's a lot of ways to use it, but typically its main purpose is to get your defender a little bit off balance, a little bit worried that you're going to do something.
Yeah.
So
a little bit of a fake.
Absolutely. Right? So what I'm going to do, and this is a really easy way to work on it, is you might not see my face here, so I apologize, but there's a chair. You know what? I have a lot more space here than I think I do, so give me a sec.
Okay, no problem.
There is a chair here that's about the shoulder width of a really wide basketball player, but assuming somebody who's guarding you is in a nice defensive stance, and we're going to pretend that the chair is them. Once we're in this area and we're in a nice locked and loaded shooting pocket, your defender is guarding you. Your jab step is basically your strong foot that's on the same side as your strong hand. Basically, quick move forward about a foot and then back into your shooting pocket. Foot, and you see where I'm moving the ball, keeping it away from the defender. Back into my shooting pocket every time.
Okay.
So, and I'm going to try and make it more obvious without the chair there, but basically I'm in my shooting pocket. Every time I'm jabbing, I probably have my toe from my back foot is about lined up with my heel of my front foot.
Okay.
I brought the ball from my shooting pocket over to my hip to protect it from the defense, but I haven't actually moved anywhere, so this is not a travel. If I need to come back, I can come right back to my shooting pocket nice and easy.
Okay. So we're gonna get set into the shooting pocket. Just jab.
Okay.
A little
Jab.
bit.
Nice.
Okay, I have a question though.
Okay.
This is one thing I struggle with is with my pivot foot.
Okay.
Sometimes I forget which one I landed with. It just happened. So when I'm doing this and we're like, if I'm receiving the ball and I'm stepping in with my right foot, now if I jab with my right foot,
that would be a travel.
That's a travel.
Yes. So it's actually good that you brought that up. I think that biggest thing is the last foot to move, because you can't really, I mean, if you can catch the ball and do all this, you're just traveling. So we're going to assume that, you know, we're going to catch the ball on one foot and move that next foot. If you've moved that next foot, then it's the only foot you're allowed to move at that point, right?
Okay.
So if any of these kids watching have happened to come and watch me at a University of Alberta game, I like almost every time I catch the ball and I'm facing the basket, I'm getting ready with my feet so that my last step is with my right foot, so that I can move around with my right foot nice and strong. It's my preferred pivot foot.
Oh.
I don't want to lift it off the ground at all.
Okay, so you just prepare for that. You have to, I guess.
Yeah.
So then, right before we catch the ball, we have to make sure that we're setting with the right foot. And if you're, if you're right side dominant, the best first foot to land with is your left.
Correct, because you want to be able to move your right foot as freely as possible if you're right hand dominant. It's the easiest way to use my also important jab step to beat your defender.
Okay. Awesome.
All right. Looking good.
Fake out a lot of your defenders. So what is your favorite thing to do with the ball? Pass?
My favorite.
Dribbling? Like if you had, you know, a clear lane, or you had a free player open, or you could take the what do you like to do?
Well, basketball is a team sport. So if somebody is more open than me, I need to get them the ball.
Absolutely.
But I'm glad that you brought it up, because when you talk about driving, that kind of brings us back to the whole notion of using the jab step to get an advantage over our defender. And so the next progression of the jab step, considering that your pivot foot is the only one that's allowed to move, is we're going to go back to the chair and we're going to imagine there's a defender in front of us. We've caught the ball and we feel we're going to beat them to the rim to drive. So I like to dribble the ball. I'm not a guard. I probably dribble it too much for a big man. I'm sure I've gotten yelled at that, but here we are. So our chair is our defender. And however we decide, well, if we're going to dribble it, it'll be a double dribble. So we're just going to say that we've got a pass and we've gotten into our shooting pocket, step one, right? So now we're going to jab at the chair, right? Back toe in line with front heel. The balls come back. Now from here, our defender has probably frozen a little bit, right? They don't know what's going to happen. Oh, this guy might dribble or he might pull it back. Who knows? So we've got him with the jab step. The easiest and I guess most intuitive skill to do from here is what's called the crossover step. So you've now jabbed, you're protecting the ball, your right foot is slightly ahead of your left, your defender is frozen, and now you bring the ball to the opposite hip, essentially, while stepping past your defender.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So that gives you an advantage because you're getting into their body. The number one thing to think about here is not to go away from your defender because the basket's over there. You want to be jabbing and going towards your defender.
Okay.
Right past them.
Okay. Yeah, because if he puts his arm out, or if he touches you, then he's most likely going to get fouled.
Absolutely. So the easiest way to beat your defender is to try and get right by their hip.
Yeah, okay. And then just protect the ball with your body.
Absolutely. You protect the ball with your body. It makes it easy. I know a lot of people, they don't like dribbling with their offhand, but believe me, it's super helpful, especially if you know how to go to the opposite direction with your when you're right-handed. If you know how to go left, it's going to open up a lot more for you. So a good one, again, you get, so it's like we talked about, you get in front of the chair, you give yourself a little toss and catch, jab, crossover, and as soon as you're crossing over, that ball is going down with your right foot. It's going down with your left hand. Nice. Looking good. I think you might have muted yourself, Adriana. I can't hear you.
There we go. Yeah, I totally had myself muted. I'm just going to do these. I'm going to do a few more because
yeah, absolutely.
I'm good about this. You know? This is hard. So this, when I jab, right? And I'm swinging the ball across and I'm swinging my leg across.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in reality, at top speed, the fundamentals of it, they're important to have, but it doesn't really look like that. So if I'm teaching it to you, obviously that's the idea. But if I were to do it at top speed, it would look a lot more like this.
Yeah.
Okay. So really, I didn't get the ball all the way to my other hip or dribbling it, but I'm still protecting the ball because it's on the outside of my body here, and my inside hip is what's going into this defender.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Guys.
Nice.
Watch out. Watch for me in the corner when it opens.
Okay.
That was awesome. Okay, cool. I like that jab step. I like deceiving, or you're just being deceitful, right? You're faking out your defenders. So I'm more of a soccer player, so fakes are everything for me. And that jab makes me, like, to soccer, it translates to like a shoulder drop.
Okay.
Almost do, like, is shoulder drops a thing in basketball for faking?
I'm going to go ahead and say yes. You can fake people out in a lot of ways in basketball.
I guess, right? Like you can just
whether it's called a shoulder drop, I don't have the answer. I'm going to go ahead and say no, but sure. There's one of the most important things you can do in the game of basketball is freeze your defender and make them not have a clue what you're about to do offensively. So
that's awesome. Cool. That's a good one. Just drop it, bounce it, catch it, jab, and then come over and bounce. Cool. And then you can always practice the other side then. We can always.
Yeah, so I wouldn't, this is a thing. So I would like to go through one more progression of the jab step if you would like, for people who really want to dribble with their strong hand and are just like, I don't want to use my left, even though it's probably a little bit more effective. So the last thing that I'll get to here is you got yourself and your defender. You've caught it, you're jabbing, okay? And they know the last time you hit them with the crossover step, so you don't have that in your bag anymore. They're going to cut you off. They know what's coming, okay? So you've jabbed, nothing's happening, you're back in your shooting pocket. So we're going to talk about a sweep. So if you want to dribble the ball with your strong hand now, going past your defender, you're going to want to sweep. So we've jabbed, we're back in our shooting pocket, and now the ball is going to come low underneath our knees while we step past our defender this way.
Oh, okay. Cool. Okay, sounds good. So, same thing. Catch our jab, We're come back, and it's swinging and under.
Sweet. Look at that. A natural.
Yes. Okay, that's a good one. I like this one. And the reason you're going low is like it's just difficult to get to, right?
Correct. So it's also, I think, from a just overall athleticism perspective, the lower you, like the low man wins is what we're taught when you're a kid in basketball. Is so your defender's low, you also got to be low. When you get the ball down here, no one's really swiping that away down there as a defender. People are typically, if they're going to go down here to swipe, they're losing their balance and you're blowing by them to the rim.
Yeah.
So you want to get nice and low, nice and close to the body of your defender, and then you can dribble the ball with your outside hand going to the rim.
Okay. Cool. Should we practice a few of those?
Absolutely.
I think I should practice a few of those. It feels so weird to not have a real defender. I'm like, that's so good.
You'd be surprised how much a chair is pretty average. Like it's pretty standard in terms of actually working on your skills. A lot of people like to freeze and not move a lot. So
that's true. I was just saying, but he doesn't flinch. You know, he doesn't flinch on my jab.
You gotta imagine it flinching.
I'll do one more here, but this jab, come back and low.
Ah, look at you.
Yeah. I got to learn how to I think a lot of young athletes need to learn how to use their bodies to be bigger. Because I think when you go and do this step, I'm like, if I take a little step, like I'm nowhere, you know, I'm like right here. Whereas I should really be taking like this big step across.
Absolutely. You want to make sure that, especially whether you're doing a crossover step or you're sweeping, you want to make sure that you are getting as much length as possible out of that first step. It's interesting, if you ever actually watched like an NBA draft, for example, and they talk about a player having a really quick first step or a really explosive first step.
Yeah.
I mean, how can basically they get from 0 to what speed and how quickly, and it's all based on how long that stride is, how quick they can get into that stride, how low they are to the ground when they're getting into that stride.
Yeah, that first step is so crucial. And that's where you're probably going to gain most of the advantage with the defender, right?
Absolutely. My dad has always taught my brother and I that if you can't beat somebody in 2 dribbles, and you can't beat them. So yeah, you got that much time to beat somebody off the bounce. And other than that, good luck if you want to dance around and beat Kyrie Irving. Great, yeah, but not everybody's Kyrie Irving. So
well, you gotta find that's a good tip, because then you can start thinking about, okay, my first step is very important. My second step is important as well. You know what I mean? First step off. That's awesome. Cool. I like that one. I can't wait to go deke some people out or fake people out. You know?
Try it out.
That's awesome. Cool. Was there one more, or was that the last one?
That was all I had planned on covering today. There's a lot more complicated steps that you can get into, but for the sake of what we're doing today, I think those are the 2 most basic but still most effective jab step techniques that I use even to this day to get around defenders.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I didn't even ask what position you play.
I play like power forward. Okay. So like I'm a post half of the time. Yeah. I'm on the outside about the other half of the time.
Yeah. So this past season, just reflecting on your past season your past few seasons with Golden Bears, I know you had some pretty good stats, but were they rebounds or were they shots? What were the best stats you had?
Geez. So 2 years ago, actually even this past year, really, I pretty much averaged right around 20 points per game. And right around 10 rebounds per game.
Oh, wow. Okay. So strong in both.
So, yeah. I had a pretty good few years, and you know, rebounding is, I don't know if you've been watching the Michael Jordan documentary that's hit Netflix.
I started.
I go ahead and not recommend it for kids based on a lot of the vulgarity involved.
Yeah.
But Dennis Rodman has a whole point where he talks about how he learned to rebound by going in the gym and just having guys throw the ball off the rim in crazy ways. So there is definitely a science to rebounding.
Cool.
And you got to be able to know where the ball is coming off. But at the same time, I would say 75% of it is hustle. If you can out hustle somebody, you get that ball. You have no idea how valuable extra rebounds are for your team. It's probably the second most important thing you can do besides scoring. So rebounding is a big one for sure.
That's awesome. Cool. Thank you, Brody, so much for joining in. Sorry for all the technical issues. Sorry, everyone, for posting this late, but I'm glad we got Brody out and we learned some of his sweet moves. Now you can't fake anyone out, Brody. You just gave everyone away your secret sauce.
Yeah, you guys know all my secrets, man.
Right? Dang.
Thanks for having me, Adrian. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I will see you guys, everyone. Tomorrow, 4 p.m., we are back with soccer skills with Sun from FC Edmonton, so definitely check us out tomorrow. Thank you, Brody. Good luck, or I hope the season, I was going to say good luck in the season, but I hope the season comes back soon. And I wish you Stingers. And hopefully we can have you back so we can keep.
I would love that. You just let me know. Hopefully my Wi-Fi will work a little better. Who knows what the problem is.
All good. Okay, see ya, everyone. Bye.